What's this? The Nissan didn't win. Waltrip gives the Monte Carlo a swan song victory. The desert sends off-roaders off the road, and the used car market tops out. All this and more next on MotorWeek Illustrated.
MotorWeek Illustrated is brought to you by Quaker State. The big Q stands for quality, always has, always will. And by Bridgestone Tires. Bridgestone builds confidence.
Hello, everyone. One of the most successful racers in stock car history has retired. I'm Dave DeSpain. We'll have that story on this edition of MotorWeek Illustrated, but we're going to begin with our globe-trotting editor-at-large, Bob Varsha, host of ESPN's coverage of the San Marino Grand Prix.
Thanks, Dave. Round 2 of the Formula One World Championship proved two things. One, Ferrari's victory in the series opener at Rio didn't necessarily spell the end of McLaren's dominance. And two, that a GP Ferrari is the equal of any race car when it comes to protecting a driver in a crash. Both points were made early on Ferrari's home track. McLaren teammates Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost swept the front row and pulled away at a second a lap. On lap 4, Gerhard Berger's Ferrari left the road at 170 miles an hour. The shattered remains of the car ground to a stop, then burst into flames. An agonizing 23 seconds passed before quick-acting fire crews managed to beat the flames down. It was another 15 minutes before they were able to cut Berger from the wreck. Miraculously, despite the force of the crash, which broke the fuel bladder and the subsequent fire, Berger escaped with only a broken shoulder and rib, plus burns to his hands. And he says he'll be back by Mexico in just 4 weeks. We'll take another look at this scary moment. Williams driver Terry Boutsen, who was following Berger at the time, said the Ferrari's front wing had broken. Berger said later he could neither steer nor brake when the car went off. The Ferrari officials have examined the wreck. They say they still don't know what happened and won't, pending further investigation. Which makes it even more remarkable that Berger's visibly shaken teammate Nigel Mansell returned to his Ferrari and raced it to 3rd place before the engine let go. Now the crash stopped the race. At the second green light, Prost charged by teammate Senna, holding the lead for all of a quarter of a mile before the defending world champion outdrove him to the first tight left-hander and took a lead he would never relinquish. The McLaren teammates motored away in a style reminiscent of last year when they won 15 of 16 races. Behind them, the attrition was heavy. 15 of the 26 starters either crashed or broke down. With 15 laps to go, Prost carved an uncharacteristic donut of his own due to a locked-up front left tire. That ended his pursuit of Senna, who scored his 15th career victory, lapping everyone but teammate Prost in the process. In sadly typical Formula One fashion, officials waited until after the race to disqualify 4th place Terry Boutsen and 2 others for working on their cars during the Berger red flag.
Bob, I need to ask you about Prost and Senna. They were such bitter rivals last year. Has that changed at all?
Apparently not, Dave. In fact, Prost refused to show up for post-race interviews in Italy, and insiders say he was incensed that Senna violated McLaren team rules, which are that the guy who wins the start wins the race, no passing. On another note, Prost is the spark plug behind the announcement that Formula One officials will now set minimum standards for medical care at GP racetracks. Prost's activism results from reports that conditions at Rio may have contributed to the paralysis suffered by fellow French driver Philippe Stretf just before the series opener. And minimum cockpit dimensions are also on the way following driver complaints that the footwells in F1 cars are too small.
Hear anything about the continuing rumors of a Russian Grand Prix?
Ah, yes, the Glasnost Grand Prix. The place, Leningrad. The time, some date in the future.
Save your rubles, right? With McLaren's win, things returned to normal on the Grand Prix circuit, but in American road racing, Nissan's Camel GT team suffered a rare defeat. Bill Adam has our report.
The 1989 Palm Beach Grand Prix, the 5th race of the season, once again sees the Nissan on the pole, but in 2nd place, Dan Gurney's brand new Toyota Eagle by only 0.02 of a second. And the top 6 cars, all within half a second. The close qualifying times didn't affect Brabham too deeply, as at the drop of the green, he immediately put the Nissan into a commanding lead. It looked as though Nissan's status quo of victory lane appearances would remain unchanged, But only 5 laps into the race, the status quo took a turn as Brabham coasted to a halt. With the defending champion out of the race, the top spot would now be contested among 5 different manufacturers. Dan Gurney's number 98 Toyota and the number 33 Pontiac Firebird both ran in the lead in the mid-race, but the final dash for cash involved these 2 cars. Bryce Cobb in the number 61 Jaguar and Bob Wallach in the number 67 Porsche. Lights blazing, Cobb was able to close within 1 second of the leader, but the Porsche would eventually stretch that lead to 22 seconds to take its 51st Camel GP victory.
Fortunately for us, on a track like this, you take a lot of chances, and all of them we came through unscathed, and it was a lot like driving a midget again, you know, and banging your way through, and that's really what helped me. So I'm really pleased, and maybe I'll really enjoy coming back next year, I'm sure.
And for second place finisher Bryce Cobb, the war is more important than the battle.
And passing some of the slower traffic that has held me off too long, the slower guys, for one in particular, the Wins car, I'm getting so old, they just do not watch. And after they broke me away from the leading car, I just couldn't chase. But also at the same time, I thought that I ought to weigh the risk versus the gain. And the gain is to lead the championship, and here we are.
In the Camel Light division, history was made as Linda Ludeman became the first woman driver to win this class.
Boy, did I feel nervous the first 2 laps, and then once I settled into just drive the car, finish the race, that's what I did. Whatever Philip told me to do, I did, and I tried not to make any mistakes.
Well, the surprise of the day at the 1989 Palm Beach Grand Prix was a Porsche victory, but the surprise of the year just might be Jaguar. With its consistent string of second-place finishes, it has now vaulted John Nielsen and Bryce Cobb into the lead for the Drivers' Championship. 1989, without a win, just might go down as the year of the cat. This is Bill Adam reporting for MotorWeek Illustrated.
Also at Palm Beach, Justin Bell proved that he was paying attention while growing up watching his dad race Ferraris and Porsches. Justin, the in-red, son of 2-time world champ Derek Bell, had an inspired barber saw battle with the local favorite John Cochran, swapped the lead furiously while Papa Bell was gnawing his nails in the pits. Deciding pass came with a lap to go, resulted from bad luck for Cochran, who broke the gearbox. Like father, like son, Justin Bell wins and takes the series lead. In the international sedan class, defending champ Parker Johnstone and his new Acura were the centers of attention. Johnstone won the season opener at Road Atlanta in last year's car, which had the other competitors screaming foul. So Parker rolled out the new model, complete with onboard camera at West Palm Beach, and left no doubt at all that he is equally happy with the 1989 version of the Acura. And when we come back, we're going to say farewell to an old friend in stock car racing. Winston Cup stock car racing last weekend saw the end of a success story that began more than 6 racing seasons ago. In 1983, while Buddy Baker and friends were spinning and crashing on the last lap at Daytona, Neil Bonnet took the Busch Clash checker, debuting Chevy's Monte Carlo with a victory. Later the same day, Cale Yarborough made even bigger headlines for the Monte Carlo, turning the first 200-mile-per-hour qualifying lap at the Speedway and finishing it with one of the most famous barrel rolls in stock car history. Cale unhurt in that dramatic tumble. In the 183 Winston Cup races since, Monte Carlos have won 95. That's well over half. But at Martinsville, Virginia last weekend, that car made its last outing, at least in the hands of a frontline driver. And as Benny Phillips tells us, Darrell Waltrip made the swan song a success by scoring his 3rd win of the year.
Consistency is what the Waltrip team has been professing all season, and it's been paying off. Starting from the 10th spot, Waltrip slowly moved his way up through the field. Only 5 caution flags helped DW set a record average speed for this race. But NASCAR's new policy for not throwing cautions for spins created some controversy. Bill Elliott, hitting the wall after a Dale Jarrett spin, said the new caution policy allowed no slowing down.
The way NASCAR's got the cautions now, they're not going to throw a caution for a spin. You know, when I slowed down, then I said, okay, he's going to be all right, and then I got back in the throttle, and then when I started on the round, you know, I was in line with him, and when I came through the smoke, I couldn't see him, and then I hit him in the back.
As
they limped to the pits, no caution was thrown, and Larry Pearson spun, slamming the inside retaining wall. A caution was then called too late, according to Pearson.
Dale Jarrett spun out there. I think Bill Elliott got into him and knocked a hole in the oil cooler or something, and he had oil all the way down the front straightaway and down through turns 1 and 2, and evidently NASCAR didn't see the oil or something, but a caution should definitely have been thrown.
No complaints from Waltrip's crew, who avoided the incident and gave their driver perfect pit stop, including a crucial final stop with just 60 laps remaining. 2 laps later, leader Dale Earnhardt pitted. During his pit stop, an air gun broke, and Dale pulled away with only a new left front tire. That gave Darrell command, and he took over the last 50 laps to win his 10th race at Martinsville.
I knew a long time ago that this team had to be a winner. It's got everything going for it. It's got the sponsorship. It's got the people involved with it. It's got a great car owner and a driver that, even at 42, hadn't forgotten how to drive. They don't take his stuff. It's kind of like learning how to ride a bicycle. Once you learn how, you don't forget.
Another top 5 finish for Dick Trickle, his 4th and 7th starts. Rick Wilson cracked into the top 5 for the first time this year. For MotorWeek Illustrated, I'm Benny Phillips.
Well, Darrell's going to miss his Monte Carlos, but the replacement is on the way, and it's called, watch my lips, the Lumina. This new GM body style makes its debut at Talladega a week from Sunday, but the name has caused a little confusion. Consider the fan who called Darrell Waltrip's race shop in a serious huff.
He said, when did NASCAR approve an aluminum car? Well, he's hear all these people talking about the Lumina. He thought they were talking about an aluminum car, so he wanted to know who approved these aluminum cars that we're going to be racing.
Lumina. This is our last memento of the Monte Carlo from the Pat Perrin collection of stock car memorabilia, a piece of Cale Yarborough's 28 that he flipped so magnificently at Daytona. I'm not going to hurt that any worse than Cale did. Given all the attention Ken Squire and I paid to Richard Petty's qualifying problems at the recent short tracks, only fair to report that he did make the show at Martinsville. And this Saturday, the most successful driver in the history of the sport goes to the IROC race at Nazareth, then heads for Washington, where he'll tell President Bush all about it over dinner at the White House. MotorWeek heads to the drag strip next for the debut of what may be the most unlikely team in Top Fuel history. We'll be right back. Drag Racing's Top Fuel division enjoyed a weekend of debuts at Atlanta Dragway. Shirley Muldowney has hired a brand new consultant. If you were here last week, you heard Shirley's explanation of what that's all about. And Eddie Hill debuted a brand new race car. We'll start with Shirley's new alliance. It's with Top Fuel legend Big Daddy Don Garlett. Seems very unlikely given the bitterness of their rivalry in the early days. But they both mellowed, and now Big just wants to help his old rival.
My short-term goals are to get this car running good and get her in the winner's circle. The car has made some good runs, but it's not consistent. We're trying to get that worked out. I just like to get her in the winner's circle. She's certainly paid her dues, and I think she deserves it.
We'll all buy that. We move on now to Eddie Hill's new car, which was really a necessity after this unbelievable ride at the season's opener. Unscathed and undaunted by a 280-mile-per-hour flip, Eddie just came back with a new car.
There's actually nearly 3 dozen little minor detail changes that we made. When I first came up with them, I call them 36 improvements, but we're going to have to hold off judgment on that. Let's call them changes for now, and we'll see if they're improvements. But right now, everything seems to be pretty well on target. We couldn't be more pleased, really, for a brand-new car debut.
Now, Muldowney and Garlett didn't expect instant success, and it's a good thing. Shirley was beaten in the first round of the Southern Nationals. But Hill made it all the way to the finals. Came up against Dick LaHaye in the far lane. LaHaye cut the quick light, got a length on Eddie early, and held it all the way. Dick makes his crew chief daughter Kim proud with a 5:13 at 281 miles an hour. New pavement meant new records in all the pro classes. Eric Reed in the near lane took a funny car hop off the launching pad. The first black driver ever to make an NHRA Pro Class final. Brought it down just in time to see Mike Dunn crossing the finish line a quarter mile away. And in pro stock, there seems to be no limit for Bob Glidden's far lane, who narrowly defeated Bruce Allen, claiming career victory number 70. That makes 3 wins out of 4 races this year, and it looks like Bob is on his way to championship number 10. My other guest last week, Don Prudhomme, made it to the third round of funny car eliminations and then lost to the eventual winner, Mike Dunn. All in all, it was a banner weekend out at the new Atlanta driveway. Big crowd, record runs, tribute to the hard work by the staff and management. They get our Air Force Reserve Commander's Performance Award. Congratulations from the 349th Military Airlift Wing, Travis Air Force Base in Fairfield, California. Elsewhere, doctors are optimistic that three-time Grand National Motorcycle champ Bubba Schobert will recover from the head injuries he suffered at the U.S. Grand Prix road race. The 26-year-old Texas native is conscious, out of intensive care this week, and recognizes family and friends, though the doctors warn that complete recovery will be a long process. Now we take you to a battle familiar to anyone who follows the Campbell Supercross Series. Jeff Ward in Kawasaki Green. Jeff Stanton in Honda Red takes the inside line and makes the pass. Wardy will come right back at him, but this is not Supercross. It's the 21st running of California's Hangtown Outdoor National, and in this 250cc class action, Stanton went on to win. There was an upset with a twist in the Nevada desert last weekend, and we'll have that story when we come back.
A while back, we told you about Nissan's plans to field a car for the Camel GT team of Jeff Brabham and Chip Robinson, plus IndyCar driver Arie Luyendyk at the 24 Hours of Le Mans in June. Last week, our MotorWeek cameras were admitted to a secret test of the new car they'll drive. The American desert will never be mistaken for the French countryside, but the 5-mile loop of the Arizona Testing Center near Phoenix is a suitable stand-in for Le Mans, where speeds are expected to reach 250 miles an hour at this year's 24 Hours. Brabham and Robinson were both on hand to get the feel of the new factory car and its powerful twin-turbo V8 engine. Some of the new car's teething troubles were expected, such as blistered tires. Others were more exotic.
We're finding out all the things you normally do find out when you start running 225 mile an hour and stuff. Body work coming down, shaking, settling down, sucking light bulbs out the back, all those things are all, things that normally happen to a new car.
We're running about 225 right now. We did get up to over 230 earlier on, but we kind of backed down a little bit just because of the heat and the problem we're having with the tires. And it seems very stable at that speed, and mechanically we've had no problems with it. So, all in all, it looks very promising.
Have you managed to work out a deal to add Le Mans to your international jet setting?
As a matter of fact, I had, Dave, and you'll be seeing the 24 Hours of Le Mans on ESPN June 10th and 11th, live.
Bring me back a truffle, okay? The book on off-road racing says that bikes or buggies are supposed to take the overall win at the big events, while the trucks race for honors only in their own classes. Well, the book needs a little rewriting after last weekend's big off-road race. Jerry Garrett has the story of the Mint 400.
Nearly 400 vehicles started out at sunrise in this year's Mint 400. At sunset, more than 12 hours later, less than a dozen had finished. The reason why was the course. But this was the course that racers begged to run this year. This is the course that gave the Mint its reputation as the roughest off-road race in the world. Racers turned thumbs down on an easier course in use the last 3 years and said, let's go back to the tough one. So it should come as no surprise that the overall victory went to one of the toughest racers around, Ivan the Iron Man Stewart. But it was a surprise that his exotic Toyota pickup won because it generally doesn't even finish.
The truck ran flawlessly all day long and didn't miss a lick, and we're tickled. The guys worked hard. We didn't get a chance to tech the car last night. We did it early this morning. So we're tickled. I think we got a truck that'll run with them now. I think they're all going to be paying attention to that Toyota truck.
Stewart also took time to play Good Samaritan to Bob Gordon and Butch Archiero. They were challenging Stewart for the lead with just a few miles left in the race when their buggies stalled. Stewart gave them a push. In fact, he pushed them over 2 miles to the nearest pit where they could get repairs. There, they got restarted and were able to come home second overall and first in Class 2. Reporting for MotorWeek Illustrated from Las Vegas, Nevada, this is Jerry Garrett.
Thank you, Jerry. How can we not name Ivan Stewart as our Racer of the Week with a rare overall win and the Good Samaritan Award to boot? The Iron Man. Congratulations to you, Ivan.
Jeff and Sammy Swindell are certainly the best-known sprint car drivers in Memphis, Tennessee, but they are not the only ones. We'll take a look at the evidence gathered during the World of Outlaws annual visit to the high-banked Eldora Speedway, Rossburg, Ohio. When we get to the action down low, you'll see Lee Brewer of Memphis, winner of a grand total of 1 World of Outlaw feature in his career. Up top is Jeff Swindell. He's already won 2 this season and ranked 2nd in the points. On paper, Swindell was the favorite. On the track, Brewer came home the winner in a wheel-banging brawl and would have made the folks back in Tennessee proud.
And while Jeff ran 2nd at Rossburg, Sammy Swindell was taking care of business on the USA Sprint Circuit. He won both features at Impact Speedway in Wisconsin and took over the USA Series point lead. Now, when we come back, we're going to have a look at what's happening in the used car market. Stay with us. In cities and towns all across America, the local automobile auction has a lot to do with establishing the market value of used cars. Now, as one might expect in this rather familiar Nevada community, used cars themselves and the auction at which they change hands take on a dimension all their own. Now, granted, you'll find some familiar-looking types here, but this guy is not selling used cars. As a matter of fact, he bought this one, flunking down a little less than $700,000. Now, who goes to an auction that offers cars like these? Why, pretty people, of course. Honey, can we buy that one? No, dear, it's at least $10,000 over Blue Book. Foreign investors, usually flanked by knowledgeable advisors, are heavily into classic cars. The Japanese, who build the cars that own the American market, then come to the U.S. themselves and invest the profits in British cars.
$425,000.
Ah, yes, a bargain. At under $500,000, this Rolls-Royce now has a home in the Orient. But the action at this auction focused on this Bugatti Royale, which some felt would fetch as much as $15 million, and some pretty high rollers were scared off by those numbers.
I need a couple more Elviras to look at that one. I might get one of the 24-inch tires.
It may be a little rich for my blood. The truth is, we can't afford it.
At the end of the day, the car went on the block, seeking to outshine the Royale convertible, for which Domino's Pizza owner Tom Monahan paid over $8 million a couple of years back. Monahan's designated bidder was here, but he didn't last long.
Well, I bid $2 million, getting ready for the next bid at 6, and somebody bid 7.
Well, with such heavy hitters left in the dust, who was the highest bidder? Well, it was this North Georgia carpet maker who hoped to use the car to promote his new stain-proof rugs. At $11 million, he figured the Bugatti was a bargain.
I think the car
He turned down the $11 million bid. The unsuccessful auctioneer was undeterred.
Once we sell a car over $10 million, I think the $20 million figure will be reached within just a few months.
I'm sure the punchline to this has something to do with sticker shock, Bob, but I'm not sure exactly what it is. In 20 seconds that we have left, let me ask you what you hear about Bob Tullius, the sports car racing great, and his NASCAR hopes.
We talked to the folks at Group 44, Dave. They say it's true. They're looking at cars, looking at drivers. Johnny Rutherford's name has been mentioned as one of many, and they expect to be at Daytona next year, but not at a cost to their sports car program.
Got a big shop, and Bob Tullius is a serious racer. They'll probably do well with that. We need to remind you that we have a new time slot. Next Friday night, we will be here at 11 o'clock Eastern Time. That's 8 o'clock on the West Coast. We look forward to seeing you then. Until then, I'm Dave DeSpain for Bob Varsha and all of us at MotorWeek. Thanks for joining us.
Winning on the NASCAR circuit takes dedication, teamwork, and a strong will to succeed. You'll find that same spirit in the Air Force Reserve. We've got a place for you on the winning team.
MotorWeek Illustrated was brought to you by Budweiser. Beechwood aged for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you.